Welcome back to Face the State on this Sunday morning. Once again, there will be no auto show in Hartford this year. The big tourist attraction has moved to Mohegan Sun Casino, along with a few other things, as a matter of fact. So what can be done about it? With us here to talk about that is Mike Freimuth. He is the head of the Capital Region Development Authority. And Mike, good to see you back here on the program. So we learned this week that apparently these casinos have had a little bit of a negative impact on the city in terms of stealing away some of the events that used to come to Hartford, namely the auto show. When you lose something like the auto show, what does that mean?
Well, the auto show as an event was basically a regional event. Drew in a lot of folks from the greater region, came in for the day, parked the car, did the show, maybe had lunch and went home. It didn't have an impact on the hotels per se or some of that trade. But it was a large attendance. It was a multi-day event. It was an annual event. And it put the building into use in the winter months. So as these casinos morph into larger and larger complexes, whether it's Springfield or the Indian tribes in eastern Connecticut, they're building facilities that are tackling what had been the enterprising entertainment markets of other older buildings. The convention center is being impacted now because of Mohegan recently opening their convention center. But the pattern has been clear when Mohegan Sun was built and started impacting the XL Center. So it's a similar pattern. It's just a different building.
When the convention center was first built, when it first opened, as the linchpin, the key, if you will, of Adrian's Landing, it was touted as the biggest convention center between Boston and New York. Is that still the case?
Yeah, I think Mohegan's roughly the same size. Depending on how you do the breakout rooms and the large exhibition halls, but they're roughly the same size structures. The Springfield market hasn't really developed it yet. We're watching that, so we see that as a problem too. But the nature of the business has changed a lot. We're noticing that there's less and less large events and greater amount of smaller events, which we do multiples of during the daytime. So what we're trying to do is position the building today to change to meet the new market demand as well as what's happening with the casinos.
Has the convention center been a success in your judgment?
Yeah, it has. It drives hotel rooms, drives restaurant trade, it employs a lot of folks. It generates taxes greater than the annual subsidy. It's often lost in the budget shuffle. But annually it generates over $4 million in taxes, and its general appropriation is in the $3 million range. So we push out more taxes to the general fund than it costs the state to run them. So they generate activity, they pay for themselves on an operating basis, and they redefine the downtown area.
There have been some complaints that when people go to a convention at the convention center, they can't stay in the city of Hartford. In fact, when you Google Hartford Marriott, you also get the one in Farmington, and the one in Rocky Hill is called the Hartford Sheraton South, because they're trying to capitalize on the Hartford name, but the guests get here and they're like, wow, I'm 10 miles from downtown. Yeah. So you need more hotels.
Yeah, the hotel trade has always been a Achilles heel of the Hartford Convention Center. Part of it has to do with maintaining the hotels during the non-convention business. Is there sufficient business trade and normal trade to keep those hotels viable and functioning? That's always been a push-pull we've been involved with. We have, from time to time, overloaded into the greater region. I mean, the NCAA event this past March pushed folks as far out as Simsbury and Avon.
And they weren't happy about it.
Well, they weren't, but those hotels were.
Yeah, well, the hotels were.
Yeah, and,
but if you come to an evevent in Hartford, you want to be able to walk to your events. You don't want to have to drive in every day and pay the parking. And all.
Yeah, and we just took a 15-minute was more than that, obviously, 15-year look at the convention center. It is, it is coming in on its second decade of operations. It has to kind of think about where it is in the world. And we wanted to challenge it. What could we do to reposition the building and bring new items into it, new events into it? And it came across in repeated conversations with users, businesses, conventioneers, industry trade folks, that a second critical hotel was necessary.
Why didn't Hartford, and perhaps the authority as well, make a stronger pitch for the satellite casino that's now being built in East Windsor? Because one would argue that that's also going to hurt the city.
Yeah, I think that goes both ways. The city of Hartford unofficially was talking to the Indians as the third casino. There was a lot of pushback in that folks really wanted it closer to Springfield than Hartford. There had been a proposal in East Hartford. There was some discussion of putting it in downtown. A variety of things play against that. The most difficult issue for a casino is parking. and the volumes of parking you have to have at what price points, generally free. And one of the things we found in downtown was we just didn't have that much volume of parking, nor could we give it up for really no cost to push a casino out. So there was normal operational problems, but there was a desire to be up closer to Springfield as well.
So we're going to see a new hotel coming in the next couple of years, you believe, and obviously a high-rise type of thing?
Well, we've been talking to different parties. There's going to need to be a public subsidy involved to get it off the ground. The cost of construction relative to what it can produce in revenues is still somewhat distorted. We have reserved land for that, in part behind the current Marriott. There are other sites in town that have from time to time been mentioned, including the old FSB site. Might have been a TIC site. I forget what it was called.
It was
those
both
days.
at one point.
And we've looked at other possible buildings, but it has to be close by. We run the shuttle to the hotels that are downtown, and that has served us well. But we need to get another hotel closer to the building. How quick it comes along, how to make it work, what level of public investment, those are tough questions yet ahead of us.
You know, critics say the authorities have done a great job at converting old buildings into apartments that are now almost at, what, 94%, 95% occupancy in most of these apartments. People do want to live downtown, apparently. But why is it when we go to Boston or New York, you see cranes everywhere and all these new high-rises going up, and we don't see any new construction in Hartford in terms of standalone construction?
Well, Boston's an aberration, of course. You get Western Massachusetts, you're not seeing that. You know, between Manhattan and Boston, those markets are so strong and so hyped with foreign funds as well as national corporations.
Is that to say our market is weak?
Well, Hartford market has been historically weak when it comes to commercial. There's no secret to that. Our rental rates have been pretty much the same for the better part of 20 years. Cost of construction keeps going up. And we've had a sorting out of the users, big changeover in who wants to use it and how. It's changing, though. We're seeing absorption of the overhang in the commercial marketplace. A few years ago, it was pushing 30%. Today, it's in the high teens. So there's an absorption. There's a stabilization of rent. But we're still going through a sorting process, and we'll probably go through that for a while yet.
Do you think we'll see anything in the coming years that will sort of drastically change our skyline, like a high-rise or a skyscraper or something like that, like we are seeing in New York and Boston?
I don't see that in the immediate future, no.
Let's talk about what you would like in terms of residential. One of the things that we were talking about recently was there are plenty of new apartments, but not a lot of ownership opportunities. Do you see condominiums being built at all?
No, not necessarily condominiums, but perhaps fee simple. A row house format.
Okay.
Where you actually outright, the mortgage goes with the property as opposed to common interest. The condo market's a tough one. There's a lot of speculator interest, a lot of cash sales out there. It distorts the market. There's some secondary financing problems in it where you need to have a certain percentage of home ownership or home occupied, which distorts the ability to sell a mortgage later, and that lowers their values, and it gets complicated. So I don't think the condo market's the right one, but a home ownership market may well be. The right type of product, one that's walkable in the downtown to amenities, one that might be a little bit larger than an apartment, is probably something that's in the near term.
Obviously, you have a new governor, Governor Lamont. How is he dealing with CERTA at all? Has it been a positive thing?
Yeah, it's been positive. Four of his commissioners sit on our board. They've been getting engaged over the past few months. Dave Liebman has been a great ally of ours in working our way through the Excel Center and how to proceed with that. So we're looking forward.
When someone says, "What's Adrian's Landing?" what do you say?
I don't know. It's where the Dutch landed, but how to spell the name Adrian always bedevils me. I don't use the term.
It's on signs.
It's on signs. I like to get them off, but they got to fight with DOT on those things. We always say the convention center area, we science center area. It is really sort of an entertainment zone, and that's our goal.
Good enough. Mike Freimuth from CERTA. Thanks for being on the program.
Thanks.
When we come back, we'll dig deep into our archives from a story from 30 years ago when Donald Trump talked to WFSB about Donald Trump and a new game that bore his name. We welcome your comments on social media. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter right now.